you could sense this victory already on Palm Sunday. Jesus, so humble, came on this donkey in to Jerusalem. And yet it's so symbolic because back in the ancient times, the great warriors, after they came back from war and battles, they would come on horseback and they would come in. Whereas Jesus came on this simple donkey. And then the symbolism of the palms and Palm Sunday and the people waving the palms was also the symbolism of victory. You know, I learned back in Rome when I was living in Rome for those years, because we had palm trees all around our home, that we were told that the palms are actually also a sign that no matter what way the wind goes, what way the weather is, the palm will always survive. It moves with the weather. It's almost indestructible in its tree. And that's so symbolic because this is what Jesus was facing. He was making his way to Jerusalem. They laid their cloaks in front of him. Again, symbolic, because when someone laid a cloak in the ancient times in front of you, it was they give you their life. And the people truly meant it. And they laid their cloaks and they sang Hosanna and they welcomed their king, and they were truly happy to see their king coming because they truly believed he was the king that they awaited. But unfortunately, the hosannas, as Fulton Sheen said so nicely in his book, The Life of Christ, the hosannas were transformed into crucify him, crucify him. The palms were transformed into spears, and the shouts of joy and the shouts of laughter were transformed also into murmuring and betrayal towards Jesus. And that's why this entrance into Jerusalem was so symbolic. And if you were to ask me, Brenda, what grace could we ask for this year too, like every year, is this faithfulness, to remain faithful to Jesus. And this we can only do by staying with Our Lady. If we were to go through the Holy Week, who's better to go through Holy Week than with Our Lady? Because when we go through Holy Week, we see too how Peter, he promised Jesus, he said to Jesus, Lord, no matter if they all leave you, I will never leave you. And he meant it. Peter meant it. But there was this sense of self-assurance from Peter, whereas he didn't. Then a few hours later, he would deny Jesus. Same with John, who rested on Jesus' heart. He received his first Holy Communion. He was ordained a bishop this night. And yet a few hours later, too, John ran away from the Garden of Gethsemane. And yet we can ask for this grace of faithfulness. When Jesus said to Peter, you will deny me before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. And yet Jesus, if he weeks later said to Peter, Peter, you will deny me again, I think Peter will say, Jesus, it's true, but I need your help. I need your help that I remain faithful. Before I was too self-secure. Now I need your help. And this is something we can really pray for and ask for this time as we approach this Easter Triduum, is to ask for this grace to remain faithful in the little things. And then we will be always faithful to Jesus in the larger things. Because anyone who, and it's such a busy time, I'm sure, everywhere now, getting ready for the Easter liturgies and everything. I know it is in my church and in the other churches, that when we unite ourselves with the will of God and always want to do his will, it's as if you are always receiving Holy Communion. You're always united, this communion with God. And this communion comes from doing his will.